Hi, I'm Andy Judd, and my coming out story went a little something like this. I guess I should start by saying that I was a little surprised that I even had to come out. As a child, I was always really into music and the arts and what I would consider pretty flamboyant. My grandma used to dress me up in a wig with pearls and I would run around the house. I remember being in the first grade and having a super hardcore kindergarten crush on one of my friends who was a boy, and I would like follow him around all over the playground, just think he was the coolest. I really didn't come out in the way of sitting down and having a conversation. I was more so outed by my dad finding my phone and reading text messages between me and this boy when I was a freshman in high school. And the text messages weren't anything besides a self-discovery of communicating with somebody for the very first time, that I might have feelings for somebody and that being reciprocated back in a very innocent way. While being in Brazil, I was encouraged to keep my sexuality hidden. I was 16 years old at the time, living in a foreign country, going out to bars, meeting friends and across the globe, and I couldn't really reveal a big part of myself to them. It was fear of rejection, and then also fear of you're in a foreign country with your family's not around. What if something bad happened? In Brazil, I would sneak out and go to the gay clubs, and I ended up being a DJ for one of the gay clubs. I was 16, which was pretty crazy, but it was so wild because it was the first time that I was living an independent life out and open, while also at the same time being in a brand new space with people who are my new assisted family for the year. But I also couldn't tell them what my experience was like. I came back home to Ohio after Brazil. I just mentally I've had an amazing time. I've had my own experience as a gay person. I want to bring that out into my world in Ohio back home in my senior year of high school. I have the specific memory of going to prom with a boy, with the same boy that I was talking to as a freshman, except we were going platonically as friends. We were both from small towns in Ohio, so we weren't allowed to go with each other to either of our high school proms. So we had to go to the queer prom in Cincinnati, where we got dressed up and celebrated with all of the queer community. I actually remember we had a group photo where we met up with some of his friends before we went to the queer prom. And the parents that were in the group didn't feel comfortable with us standing next to each other, so we have a group photo where he's over here and I'm over here in the exact same outfit, fully matching, not even standing next to each other. After that experience with prom is when I became a bit more vocal with sticking up for myself and my community. At the time, Chick-fil-A was a really big debate with people because they were hosting rallies. We both went in our legalized gay attire and stood outside the Chick-fil-A lines. It really started speaking up for myself. Which then moved to college. I moved from Ohio to Rochester, New York to go to RIT to be an advertising photography and photojournalism major. That's when I joined 8-Beat Measure, which is an a cappella group. I was fully out in college. I was fully out. There was no question about it. I did whatever I wanted to do. I said whatever I wanted to say, and I was really vocal about allowing myself to be myself. I saw the school therapist, and after a while with working with her, I realized there's a lot of built up trauma with not speaking to my father, because at this time I was still not speaking to my dad. The panic attacks were starting to prevent me from really doing my work, focusing on school. I was also realizing that I really liked photography, but I liked photography as a hobby for self-expression more than I did in terms of advertising or storytelling through photojournalism. right around after I started talking to my dad, I was getting my hair cut by a barber who was just incredible in the whole salon space. There were 4 people that worked there. It was really beautiful, and it was the first time I had seen a salon that has done outside education and traveled to teach and had a salon culture that I, as even a client, I just wanted to know more and be a part of. I ended up talking to my barber and the owner of the salon space so regularly that I got a part-time job there sweeping and working the front desk, because at this time I was thinking that I wanted to get into the industry, but I think I didn't ever want to go into it because I didn't want to be the gay guy who just did hair, which I now realize growing up that was so built up in me of that wouldn't be good enough, or that would be shameful, which obviously isn't right. I ended up dropping out of college partially because I wasn't enjoying what I was doing with the photo. I was experiencing such panic attacks that I couldn't really focus on school. And this whole new world of the hair industry was really showing me a new path. I was terrible in cosmetology school. I couldn't section. I was so bad. I went in knowing absolutely nothing. The people in my class, I was also the only male. They were braiding left and right, like styling each other's hair, curling each other's hair, and I had no idea what to do. I went through the program, and afterwards I still felt like I was lacking. So I got a job as an assistant, and where we spent almost every Saturday going through an assistant training program where I brushed up on my skills, where it really became the foundation of how I started to approach hair through dry cutting. I worked in that salon for about 1.5 to 2 years, and then moved back to Ohio to be closer to family. During this time, I was regularly speaking with my father. He had actually come to visit me and stay with me, and we were mending our relationship, and I've consistently had a really great relationship with my mother. So I moved back to Ohio to be closer to them, to kind of reforge those bonds and see how myself as a working adult would be able to communicate with them and heal. Literally like 4 days after I moved back to Ohio, I met my boyfriend and life partner, Joe, because I was going to interview at the salon that he worked at, and I admired his work, and we found each other through our hair Instagram accounts. I also started work at a salon space called Ivy in Hamilton, Ohio, that was a newer salon, and really were just amazing in terms of the management. The boss is one of my best friends now. She was eco-conscious, and it really opened my eyes to a whole other side of the beauty world that I didn't resonate with individually at the time, but I wanted to. Also during that time, I moved in with Joe, and he also does hair. He was working at a separate salon, but we were able to go to our jobs, have our day of clients, come home, show each other photos of the work that we had done, and fully discuss exactly what we did to get the result, how to dissect what we would do differently next time. We were really able to critique each other, but also encourage each other just to be better and want more. That journey led us to moving to Nashville, Tennessee about 2 years ago now, and started working at Local Honey. It's very crazy now because when we moved to Nashville and we were both able to start working at Local Honey, our careers they soared. They took off pretty immediately. I started taking models and getting the kind of clients that I would want in my chair, and cutting their hair and creating a whole cutting method that I then would go on to teach and create a community in a safe space behind the chair for queer people, for allies, but also for non-binary people, because that's also something in Nashville that really hasn't been tapped into or discussed, for how we as hairdressers play a huge important part of welcoming people into our space. While working at Local Honey, I went through a self-discovery, and I'm still on it, of becoming okay and acknowledging the fact that I identify as a non-binary person. being vocal about that on social media while also posting the type of work that I'm doing, while advertising a teaching method of just looking at things completely genderless in the idea that hair has no gender, where if you take one of my reference photos and you see it on a specific person, it could easily work on you. Now we should adjust it, obviously, for you as an individual, but there's no real collection of portfolios of people approaching the mindset of gender neutrality. It's pretty crazy because now, through Pro Beauty, I feel confident to even say this. I'm making this video sharing my coming out story, which I've never done. I would have never felt comfortable to before either. It's allowed me to build a self-worth and self-confidence to be able to share my ideas and thoughts and communicate that with a whole community that's not just based in one location. It can be a national or global conversation, and the community is pretty amazing when it's there. Through posting the kind of work that I've been doing and creating my education platform, I've been nominated in 3 huge hair competitions in the past year. I've traveled and taught. I've co-hosted classes with amazing hairstylists. Joe and I have taught our class together, which I hope to do more of. I was on Elevate Stage. It's crazy. I get to work and do photo shoots all based around these ideas that I have and create with Joe, and it's a daily exploration of creativity. Doing hair has brought me community, it's brought me confidence, it's brought me creativity, it's brought me a sense of self. It's truly wild how much the hair industry has completely affected my individual life. I have a partner who I also get to share it with, who also fully understands it, and the community is so wide. I have so many friends that I've met in person, while also so many hair friends that I've only communicated with through social media. And that's the amazing thing about our day and age, is we can do that. I'm sitting in my living room chatting with you about this, and I don't know who you are. It's wild. I think it's important to say that even though the community is so broad in terms of a queer community and an ally community within the hair industry, to anyone who is part of the queer community or an ally who's thinking about going into Pro Beauty, please do. We need your voice. We need more voices. We need new perspectives, because the reality is no one is going to see hair as an art form or as a craft in the same way as you would. My name is Andy Judd, and this is the Face of Queer Beauty. If you missed your prom or were unable to attend, please consider researching your local queer prom for a night of self-expression, empowerment, diversity, and fun.